I came home expecting to find my field exactly the way I left it. Instead, I saw an excavator tearing straight through property. What shocked me even more was that the work appeared to be connected to our HOA. I immediately went outside to find out who had approved it. The trench wasn't small. It stretched across a huge portion of my field. There was heavy machinery, piles of dirt, and absolutely no warning from the HOA. I needed to know why someone had decided this work could happen on my land. I asked the HOA representative a simple question: who authorized this? She looked toward the trench and then back at me. She said the project was part of a community drainage improvement plan, but nobody had ever asked me for permission to dig through my field. The engineer pulled out the project plans and started comparing them with the trench. He looked confident at first. Then his expression changed. He realized something about the excavation didn't match what was shown on the approved drawings. He checked the measurements again. Then he looked at the trench. Something wasn't right. The excavation appeared to be much farther onto my property than the original plan indicated. The engineer began measuring everything himself. He checked the trench width, depth, and location. I watched closely as he compared each measurement against the plans. With every measurement, his concern became more obvious. Then he brought out professional surveying equipment. This was no longer a casual inspection. He wanted exact measurements before saying anything. I could tell we were getting close to an answer. The engineer placed a marker in the ground and asked me where I believed the original boundary was. I pointed toward the old fence line. He checked his measurements one more time. Then he looked back at the trench. The engineer finally pointed toward the deepest section of the trench. He said that section didn't appear to be where it was supposed to be. The HOA representative looked stunned, and I knew we had just uncovered something serious. For the first time, the HOA representative looked genuinely alarmed. She asked who had approved the excavation location. Nobody immediately answered. The silence around that question told me more than words could. The engineer showed her the original route on the plans. Then he pointed toward the trench. The two locations were clearly different. Someone had changed something, and nobody could explain why. The digging finally stopped. The excavator operator was told to wait. Nobody wanted to continue until the discrepancy was understood. For the first time that day, the entire project came to a standstill. The engineer went back through the measurements from the beginning. He checked the boundary markers, the trench location, and the project drawings. He wasn't willing to make an accusation without solid evidence. After checking everything, the engineer finally stood up. He looked at the HOA representative and asked one question. His tone was calm, but everyone immediately understood how serious it was. "Who approved this trench?" he asked. Nobody had an immediate answer. He explained that the actual excavation did not match the route shown on the official plans. That changed the entire situation. I asked him exactly what the problem was. He explained that the trench appeared to cross farther into my field than the approved route. That meant the project might have gone beyond the area the HOA intended to use. The atmosphere changed immediately. What had started as an ordinary HOA construction project was now under serious question. Nobody wanted to take responsibility for the trench, and I still hadn't received a clear explanation. I wasn't looking for a fight. I just wanted answers about my own property. If the HOA had followed the correct process, there should have been documentation. If they hadn't, someone needed to explain why. The documents became the center of the conversation. The engineer explained what the approved route should have been. Then he showed everyone where the actual trench had been dug. The difference was impossible to ignore. Then the engineer asked a question nobody wanted to answer. Who approved this trench? The excavation clearly didn't match the original plans. And standing there beside my torn-up field, I realized this HOA project was far from over.